Excited about Backstage but don't know where to start? Spotify has a new learning experience designed to help you get up and running with Backstage. Get familiar with key Backstage concepts and technical architecture. And with our step-by-step tutorials, learn how to set up, configure, and customize your Backstage app, helping you to reduce onboarding time and making your developers happier, faster. Get started today. Visit backstage.spotify.com/learn.
Hello. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to the third edition of my live streams, introduction to how to create Backstage plugins. My name is Himanshu, and I'm currently in Mumbai, India, and I moved here just last week from Stockholm. So I'm now officially a Spotify employee from India working on Backstage. I'm really excited that I can continue to bring all the Backstage content like these. So if you were not with me in the past two editions, we covered how to create a new front-end plugin in Backstage. You would just run npx create Backstage CLI create and then choose the front-end plugin. And then it will give you all the necessary tools to inject maybe a card in your entity page or a full page if you're working on a larger plugin. Then we use some utility APIs, things like use entity hook in Backstage, where if you're on an entity page, you can basically call that hook and get more information about the entity. Um, then we talked about in the second stream, we talked about backend plugins and how to create a backend plugin. We explored how to read configs from appconfig.yaml. So if you're creating a new plugin and if you want to configure it, asking your users to add something in appconfig.yaml is the most straightforward way to configure it. Then we covered databases and how to, if your plugin is large enough and if you need a database, Backstage has got you covered. So you just add a few database related code, and then there's something created for you. You add migrations, you write migration schemas if you need to develop upon that database. It's all really first class citizens in Backstage. So today, I'm going to cover two or three things. First is the last one of the remaining utility APIs in the backend plugin, which is one of my favorites, is called a URL reader. And it's not used in a lot of places, but this is really core to Backstage. So software catalog. Software catalog has to, if you don't know what software catalog is, it is just a registry of all the software components inside your company. And it contains all the metadata about those components. So you see those, like you see who owns the software component, what life cycle does it belong to, where do I find the documentation for it, and so on. All of this, a lot of this metadata lives in YAML files, which belong to the repository of the software itself. It's most popularly known as catalog info YAML. And software catalog needs to track all those YAML files. Now imagine so a company like Spotify who has like 30,000 software components. Software catalog needs to track all those 30,000 YAML files, and it needs to keep checking if they got updated, etc. So one thing that is used for that is called URL reader, which is basically if you give it a URL, let's say github.com/backstage slash like a link to a catalog info YAML, the URL reader will take care of giving your plugin, which is software catalog in this instance, the contents of the file. That's it. So URL reader is a way for backend plugins to read plain data from URLs. So it can read a URL, but it can also like read a tree for you. So if you have a directory tree there, you can download a lot of files and a lot of directories like inside that. A good example for this is the TechDocs plugin. The TechDocs plugin needs to read all the markdown files where the engineers have written the documentation. And yeah, it basically downloads the docs folder. So the read tray is written for that. Another feature of URL readers is that you get a search functionality. So let's imagine a use case where you need to find all the catalog info YAMLs or any file for that matter in a repository. Well, you come to search, you come to URL reader search, you give it a pattern, and then it will return all those files. And then later on, you can read those individual files. So what's the benefit of URL readers? Well, the first one is you can, of course, do it very straightforward. You can maybe do curl and give it a URL link and then give it like necessary tokens. But this is not a straightforward way to do it in a production system. Let's say you have Backstage deployed and it connects to your internal GitHub or GHE or GitLab or Bitbucket. So as an average, like just another developer, you don't get to generate tokens for these systems, because um, it would be like a lot of permission hazard if every plugin developer adds their own token just to read a file. So if you already have a GitHub or GitLab system inside your company, probably the Backstage instance is configured to read stuff from there. And that is done via integrations. So let's say if you already have GitHub inside your company, you most probably have this integration setup configured in the Backstage app.config.yaml, which is where you define how to read files, and basically just the token that is used to read files from the systems, but also like do other things like publish repositories if you're using software templates. So if you use something like URL reader in your backend plugin, it will automatically get that token for you, and then like make sure it's using the right token. So if something changes, like you as a plugin developer doesn't have to care about authentication in this case. Second thing is sometimes in Backstage, you can also use something called GitHub app to do these integrations, especially if you're on GitHub. So you don't necessarily need to generate one token at a time because it comes with a rate limit. So you create a GitHub app which dynamically creates tokens for Backstage to read stuff from GitHub or GHE, and it refreshes the token when there's need. So if you're using a URL reader and if you have a large organization, like rate limit is also taken care of. So let's take a look at how this works, and let's get into some hacking. Thanks for listening to my description. If you have any questions, comments, just paste them in the chat. Thanks, Vinay. Good to see you here. So yeah, let's begin, and I'll play some music. Let me know if the music is too loud or if you don't like it. Hopefully this is all right. Volume 15. Very low. So first step, where is our plugin? I remember creating something called my awesome plugin some time ago. There it is. And this plugin is configured from packages backend over here. So every backend plugin is most probably configured from your packages backend directory. And inside here, you have a plugins folder where you create a very simple file for your particular plugin, where you call the particular plugins create router function. In short, backend plugins are an abstraction. They're just a few routes that you attach to your Backstage backend. So you call their create router function, but you also pass in some utility APIs. And then, for example, database is one if your plugin needs databases. So yeah, one like a part of this plugin environment type, as it's called, you can find like config reader here, like something that we use to read stuff from app.config.yaml. You can find the database here, and you can also find the URL reader here. So let's use this URL reader thing and see how it goes. I'm going to pass an instance of reader in here to my plugin, and then make sure my plugin is ready to accept an instance of URL reader. What's the type? By the way, just today I learned that there's a new announcement where VS Code dev blog that you can deploy your own VS Code code spaces. So yeah, you can just if you. So I'm thinking about all the checks running locally, and maybe my laptop is getting slowed. So perhaps code spaces are the future, and they'll be running on more powerful systems, so that all these pretty heavy linters and tests don't have to depend on how strong my laptop is. So I was checking the type of URL reader, which is from backend common. Editor. Cool. We'll go back to my plugin, then copy this type from backend common, which is already here. Pretty convenient. And I am going to deconstruct this inside my plugin. So my plugin's creator function now has an instance of URL reader. And what does this do? What do you do, reader? So this is the function which gets called when the backend spins up. Why don't we take this space? Why don't we occupy this space for URL reader stuff? That's good. Maybe we'll add an endpoint. Who knows? Cool. So reader dot. What do you have? Okay, you have a read URL function. I have a read function, which I think is being deprecated, so please don't use it. We have a read tree function, which is how you read a tree, a directory from a external URL. And you have something called search. So we'll just try these three things. Read URL, pretty straightforward. Read tree, download a directory, and then search. So read URL. What do you need? Need a URL. Let's give this function a URL. So we go to Backstage repository. Let's pick catalog info.yaml. And what do you return? You return a promise. Perfect. And that contains a read URL response. So what does a read URL response contain? It contains a buffer functions, which returns the data directly. If it returns the data that was read from the remote URL as a readable stream. I don't need this. And then it also returns an e tag, which is a particular identifier for that file content. So if the content changes, the e tag will change. So it's used in cache management, basically. So let's do it. Read URL response equals to await this thing. And then logger, do I have logger info? It will go in a long stream of backend logs. So I'm going to add this Himanshu identifier, which I'm going to search in my terminal. And then logger.info read URL response dot. Let's just print buffer and see if it prints the content. Sounds good. That's it. Not much to do. What else? It cannot invoke an object which is possibly undefined. So read URL could be undefined. That's not good. Okay, then let's use read. If read URL is not there yet in all the... So in short, if I look at the implementation, read basically calls read URL. So it doesn't really matter. Let's call read now. And what does it return? It doesn't return buffer? Oh no. Well, what is this thing? Read. What do you return? Oh, you return buffer by default. Okay. So this is the buffer. I can print this thing. Okay, let's spin up backend and let's hope that we get the content of this YAML file. So I'm in my terminal and let's start the backend. I wanted to try some new music today. So I'm using StreamYard to stream this to 4 places. And I was wondering, like, hey, can I add some custom music? And I opened it today and I found like the banner said, here's how you can add custom music. It was super impressive to see. It knew what I wanted. So the backend is starting, and we'll hopefully see the response of read URL in a second. That is a long time for the backend to spin up. Good. Okay, looks like it is starting, and we got an error. I love errors. Failed to connect to the database to make sure that Backstage plugin catalog exists. And I know why it happened, because I don't have Postgres running. And now it's running. So this should work. In last session, we were dealing with database stuff, and you can see I added this Postgres database client. It used to be SQLite, or better SQLite, as it's now used, but now we were using Postgres because we wanted a stable database, and Postgres is the production ready database that you would use. I got some errors, folks. I got Tech Insights error, whatever. I don't care. I got Himanshu. I got this from my plugin, and there's the content of the file. Isn't that nice? So I didn't have to do anything in here. I didn't have to know about GitHub APIs. I didn't have to know about what token should I use. I just wanted to read a URL, and that's what I did. So this will also work if we read from a private repository, which the Backstage instance has access to. Let's try to read a URL which is on GitLab. What is that sound? And is this a public repository? Let's see. Yes, it is. So let's see if this works. So I'm on GitLab. This is a repository we use to demo Backstage. It also has a catalog info YAML. Let's read that. And let's also try to print the E tag. So read doesn't print that. So why don't we use read URL here? Because I think that's the future. And I'll show you. And to ignore this error, I can just say cts ignore. Please forgive me, folks. Now this will have a .buffer function. We also have .e tag. Let me first print the e tag and then the content of the file. Just wanted to show you the e tag. Okay. There's a lot of errors in the Backstage backend. What's happening in my local instance? So I'm here in Mumbai, and it has been raining for the past, I don't know, 10 days straight. So every morning I look outside and it's raining. So I'm very thankful to Swiggy and all the other food delivery companies for keeping us alive in this rain. Okay, I got something. Himanshu, undefined and a promise. So this buffer is also a promise. I need to do a wait here. There we go. We got the content, but we didn't get the E tag, which is I'm sad about. So this means the read URL for GitLab doesn't have E tag configured, or the GitLab didn't return E tag in this case. What if I try a GitHub example again to show you that to have E tags in URL readers, and also an example of how you can cache it. There we go. So we got the E tag. So the cool bit is that you can provide E tag when you are reading the link, when you're reading the file itself. So in response, E tag is returned. An E tag can be provided to check if the response has changed. And so let's use it. And I think it throws an error when you do that. So inside read URL options, I'm going to say E tag. Let's see what happens now. Syntax error. Clear logs. So I provided an E tag. Not much happened in read URL. I was expecting more because something happens in read tree, and it doesn't. Well, it's not super expensive to read a file, but it's very expensive to download a directory. So I think that's a better example to showcase. But we are done with read URL. As you saw, spent a bit too much time on this, but just give it a URL. Make sure your Backstage integrations are set up, and then you will have the response. All right. Next up, we have read tree, and this is where the power of using read URL starts to show. So what does a read tree do? Well, let's see. So I am here in Backstage, and I want to download everything inside Docs, all the files, because I need to do something. So I copy this URL, and always, whenever you are using read URL, the URL that you need to copy is right there in the browser. So you don't need api.github or any special URL. Just copy it. And you give that URL in the read tree, right? And then there's options, which we don't need to worry about now. So let's call it read retree response. And let's see what the retree response has. So you can call this dir function, which extracts the retree response into a directory and returns the path of the directory. It is the responsibility of the caller to remove the directory after use. Thank you, sir. I will do that. So does it return a promise? It does. Let's do await here. And let's also call files. So one caveat about this. So you can only call dir or files once, and you cannot call it repetitively. So because it stores like the downloaded data in memory, and as soon as you call it once, it's going to clear that. So if you need to, so I can't just do this here. We'll need to do either this or that. We'll come to files later. Let's extract it in a directory, and let's print that directory's file. Again, think about what we are doing here. We're downloading this entire directory. So it could mean like Backstage, download zip, and then move everything else. Just give me docs. So it's a lot of heavy lifting going on in the background, and let's see if it works. Well, I'm sure this Backstage backend would have restarted it. So maybe we already got that. No. Unable to read URL. Spotify forbidden. What? Does this request not exist? Okay, let's close this, clear it, and restart. There we go, Himanshu. So the heavy lifting has started. By the way, do you know that? Hey, there we go. We got the folder. So if I go to that, I do ls, I have everything in the docs folder. Isn't that neat? And I can do whatever I want to. Like if I want to run mk docs here, if I am converting Markdown to HTML files, or I don't know what you would do with downloading a directory, but there's a way to do it. And TechDocs uses this heavily. I think search as well, because it needs to index a lot of your files. So search and TechDocs, some of the core plugins uses retree. Cool, but I can't be reading. So this directory doesn't need to update like every time you're visiting a page or you're triggering this plugin. So we want a way to understand the caching mechanism. So instead of running .dir, I will now run .files. But I'll also log retree response .etag to check how to cache it. So the etag will be the identifier. It comes from HTTP. I guess pretty common HTTP requests. Object. Oh, that looks like it doesn't look so good. So what happened here? It's a list, I guess. Yeah, it's an array. So what we'll do here is we'll run a for loop for, and guys, or girls, I don't know how to write a for loop perfectly, so I'll try to do something. For const one file of wait read tree response.files, and then do I don't know, file dot content. Great. What are these functions? It's also return promises. JavaScript, people love to promise things and write promises and embed that in all functions. Not complaining anything. Alrighty, so it's a for loop. Let's run it. You also have an e tag. Okay. Whoa, no. Oh, what is happening? My system is hacked. No, I think I shouldn't have done that. It did not like it at all. So that content didn't turn out to be the best way to print it. I did see something nice. Guys, I'm an alien. I understand all of this. So I'm sorry if you can't relate. This is beautiful. So it's going to print all the hundreds of files that exist in docs. And since we had live reload enabled, it might do that a few times because I saved the file a few times. Let this load. I don't want to interrupt it. I think that's nice. But the way to do it would be this files returns a response file. And then you would run let's first run this one part, and then the content of it, and then I just want to exit this for loop. Continue from for loop JavaScript. Break. Yeah, let's pick it. And I'll kill this now. So go back to Backstage. Then start the backend. So I'll just print this once and break out of it. Break out the for loop. Himanshu, and give me the content. Oh, well, there we go. Here it is. So something might have gone wrong. Yeah. So why don't we, instead of printing the content, let's just print all the parts, then figure out what content we exactly need from which particular file. So let's print all the parts in that docs folder. There we go. So we have all the files that exist in docs. I can just close this tab. So we have git ignore, FAQ, API docs, assets. Oh, I get it. I was printing all PNG and their content, and that's why it was just super borked. Yeah, so if it's a markdown file, then only just print the content. Anyway, so we got all the we got all the paths, and then if you know what file you're looking for, you can download it and then read stuff from there. We also got an e tag. So there's the e tag, and then I just want to show you that how to use the e tag. So inside read tree, the second bit is read tree options. You pass this e tag in here, and then see what happens. I think this will error out. It will say, as long as the directory doesn't changes, any files don't change, it will say not modified error. So yeah, this is it. This is how it works in HTTP as well. If you request a file and if you pass in an e tag as well, and that make sure and the e tag hasn't changed, it will throw you an error in HTTP codes as well, but also here. So you just try catch this thing. Try this bit, except not modified error. You can probably know I like Python because I don't know how to write try catch in JavaScript. No, so catch not modified error. Seriously, how to write try catch? JavaScript. Try catch in brackets. If you catch this not modified error, just say that yeah, like files haven't changed, so you don't need to do anything. I can just print this, and this will only work if we actually fetch something. So it belongs in the try block. Why is this giving me an error? It's already declared in the upper scope. I'm not declaring it. How do you catch an exception that you know? Oh, you do something like an instance of or something, right? Error. If error instance of not modified error. Right? I think so. This else got a weird error. Yeah, I think this will work. So to sum it up, you read a directory, but if you also pass an e tag, it's going to do some cache. You're doing some checks. So if the files haven't changed, and if the e tag hasn't changed, it's not going to download things, and it's going to tell you that, hey, you don't need to do anything, and probably everything is up to date in your system. What did it print? Yeah, Himanshu, and files have not changed. And this was quick as well because it actually didn't download anything. Perfecto. Last thing that comes with read URL is search. Our URL reader is search. So let's do it. Reader.search. And what does it need? It needs searches for a file in a tree using a glob pattern. So I need all the YAML files inside Backstage. Is this the right syntax? I think so. Search response. Response equals to await this thing. And then print the search response. Search response dot files. I guess it's also. Oh, it's not promise. It's not callable. Let's just log this. Info. Request failed for impose Backstage. Huh. I thought that was a valid glob syntax, but probably not. Not. Well, do I do star.yaml? If this doesn't work, then I will search for, I'll look at some docs. I think it's working. There we go. But wait, what the heck? Oh, it's all the files. It's not the search response. There is the search response, so it is an error. Perfect. So why don't we disable this file logic? And search response, let's look at the logs, docs, not logs. URL reader, there's a page for it. Want to look at search. Oh, look at that. Oh, blob, and then the master branch. Okay. Express blob. Okay, I was missing this. Missing blob and master, and then all the YAML files in there. Okay, I think this will work. Hey, look at that. All the files in here. Okay. Perfecto. And then I can just loop. Then I do for each. Just print URL. I love TypeScript. I love autocompletes. This is something that was missing in JavaScript. So if you don't like TypeScript, I don't know, you survive with just JavaScript without types. But yes, I got all the YAML files in the repository. And that's how you use URL reader to search for things. And then I can also get content from this as well. So yeah, that's it about URL readers. If you want to know more about them, there's a page about URL readers. It's also for like your understanding, but also like if you're writing a new URL reader. As of now, URL readers have support for reading stuff from AWS S3, Azure, Bitbucket. Get it? GitHub, GitLab, Google Cloud Storage. Yeah. So, but you can read from so many more places, right? So you can just add a support for it. Next up, I'll go through Backstage search and just try to see how that works and try to ingest some of my data from my plugin into Backstage search, so our users can search from my plugin itself. And I'll do that shortly. A quick bio break. Until then, enjoy the music, and I'll play the video for you. Learn video for you. Don't I show you this page? It's a really nice page on backstage.spotify.com/learn. We have some nice tutorials here to get started with Backstage as an adopter and go through like step by step, explain things. It's really handheld tutorial, and please try it out and let us know how that goes. I'll be back quickly.
Excited about Backstage but don't know where to start? Spotify has a new learning experience designed to help you get up and running with Backstage. Get familiar with key Backstage concepts and technical architecture. And with our step-by-step tutorials, learn how to set up, configure, and customize your Backstage app, helping you to reduce onboarding time and making your developers happier, faster. Get started today. Visit backstage.spotify.com/learn.
I am back. Get myself some juice. And let's explore search. Search. So why don't I demo search for you first, and then show you what am I talking about. Let me connect to Spotify VPN because I have a demo instance for Backstage in there. And let me show you how Backstage search looks. Also my password. No, I'm not going to do that. Send me a push notification. Actually, I like this music. It's called Water Fluid. I downloaded it from Pixabay, which is where you can download royalty-free music from. So, thank you so much. I also used to use SoundCloud to download such background music and similar things. There we go. So we are here. So inside Backstage, you can search across your software components, across your documentation, across all the APIs that you have, and basically anything that you want your developers to look for. So inside Spotify, for example, we have Stack Overflow Enterprise. So if you're searching for something, we also search in Stack Overflow. So it's a platform, and you can integrate and you can extend this search to search for anything. What if I search for lunch? Okay, so I found a software component called lunch app. I didn't find any document. Oh, I did find documentation containing lunch, and I can just visit them. Cool. All extensible. You can add more filters in here. You can change the look and feel of this search. It's really, really powerful. So this is search. Now, of course, every search has a search engine behind it, and the search plugin inside Backstage is not the search engine. It's it connects to a search engine. So if you want to use Elasticsearch or Lunar or maybe just the Postgres database, everything is supported. Like, it depends on you how you want to configure search. Yeah, quick look at the architecture diagram. Really simple to understand. No, I'm kidding. I'm looking at it after a very long time. But the idea here is that you have a backend plugin. So inside your Backstage backend, you basically run on a schedule basis. You run collaters, search collaters, which is basically like an index builder. So it keeps on fetching all the data it needs from different plugins, different sources, and it keeps on building the search index. And the front end client basically talks to the back end, and then it just displays the data for you. Not really that simple as I explained it, but we don't need to understand fully on how the search plugin works. As a plugin developer, I need to understand how to show my data in search results. That's good. So let me kill this backend and let me remove all things URL reader and this too. No, we don't need this. So how do we do this? Let me start this Backstage app. Let me run it locally and show you how the search works as of now. So yarn start will start the front end. Yarn start backend will start the backend. And I'm going to refer to this pull request from Emma, who is basically one of the creators of this plugin and maintainers of the plugin. And she wrote a nice tutorial on how you can write a search collater. So I'm going to refer to this tutorial. Welcome everyone. For those of you who are new, we are exploring how Backstage search works and how we can, as a plugin developer, feed our data into the Backstage search platform so that whenever users search for something, they also get responses from our plugin. If you have any comments, questions, feel free to shoot them in the chat wherever you're watching this, YouTube, Twitch. I'll respond to you. Hello, Debya. Hi, Suzanne. So we are here. Perfect. So this is how search looks in my local instance. A bit different from the demo environment. Perhaps this is new and this is the future. So that's really good. So what do we want to do today? So my plugin needs to provide some data, some custom data that I would like my users to search for. And I was thinking, what about list of all cities in India? Of course, that'd be a small list. No, it's not. But my plugin, this new awesome plugin that I have created, we will write a search collater to take that data and build an index for it. And along with everything else, like the software components and documentation, we'll be able to search across that list. I've never done this before, so please expect some turbulence and fasten your seatbelts. Found a list of cities on GitHub. Cities in India. So thank you. And if I add JSON, thank you. Is it Nishant? Wait. Yeah, Nishant Arora, thank you so much for this list. It has a detailed version .json, which is what I need. So I'm going to download this file. GitHub, download this for me. Don't show this to me. Perhaps it's still loading. So what does it have? Let me zoom in a bit. And my computer is frozen. It's a 5 MB of JSON, so I don't know. That's still low. But what does it have? It has a particular key, and then it has city, which is basically the same key. It has something called accent city, which I guess is a representation. It has something called region, which I'm imagining is the state, and there's a particular code for that state. A population number, if it exists, of course. It's not possible for all cities, and then latitude, longitude. So that is the data we have. Oh, please unfreeze my computer. No. Okay, I have this JSON file. I don't trust GitHub to download this well. I'm just going to wget this. Wait, what? No. So where do we store data like this? We store them with our plugin itself. And few examples would be, let's look at an example where a plugin comes with some data files. So any idea of a plugin which is packaged and then comes with data? Well, something that's not JavaScript code. Oh, Casa plugin. Nope. A logo would do too, but it seems like I'm not able to find homepage assets. Nope. So the logos are also SVG, so you just embed them in the JavaScript, and then you don't need it. But the idea here would be you go to packages. So inside your package.json, you just add like if you want to package it up, you will add like assets folder here, so that the file does get published to npm. So let's download this file in my plugin. 2 plugins, my awesome plugin backend, create assets, and then do wget. So easy. And then my browser was hanging to download this. But now I have a detailed version.json. Okay. So the next step will be writing a search collater, as it's called, which will read this JSON and then build the index with the cities names and all the details as well. So I'm going to follow the tutorial from Emma and try this out live. So why don't I open this file as it is? Looks nice. So yeah, we need to write a collater. We need to make sure we have all the dependencies for it. So the only dependency we need here is search common package, which I think I have. But no, my plugin doesn't have. So let me add it. In my plugin, I'll do yarn add Backstage plugin search common. Define your document type. Before we can start generating documents from our FAQ entries, which is like an example used in this tutorial, we first have to define a document type containing all necessary information we need to later display our entry as search result. The package we installed contains a type indexable document that we can extend. Perfect. So create a new file inside your plugin and then paste the thing below. So awesome. And let's no pressure, Emma. Yeah, hopefully this all works out very well. So let's create a file here. Let's call it search collater.ts and import the indexable document from the package which is being installed, and then our document, let's call it Indian cities document. So it should have like a city name, a string, it should have a latitude, it should have a longitude, and what else? Population, optional. Let's try one of those. Number. Okay, so this is installed now. Hopefully, missing notice header. There is my document. This is what it will look like in the result. If I'm searching for a city, these 4 things can appear in the search result in the front end. So I have my document ready for this search collater. Awesome, pretty neat. Use Backstage app configuration. So I think this is optional. What the tutorial says is that you can read data from app config YAML as well, but not necessary for our purpose here. Imagine your FAQs are coming from an API. No, our data is coming from a JSON file itself, so we don't need this. Below we provide an example implementation of how the FAQ collater factory could look like using our new document type placed in the file that we created. So this is a new file, FAQ collater factory, and this is a document file. So yeah, we just need 2 files for our search. So this is not the collater, this is search collater document. Let's call it. So I think the idea was good. Let's create a search folder and then put these 2 files together, and let's create a new file. Let's call it collater. I'm going to shorten this to document.ts. First, missing notice header. If you don't know, if you press command dot, you quickly get this auto fix things for lint errors. Control comma if you're on some other platforms. But let's copy this piece of code, because we love copying code and hope they all work out. Boot fetch from crossfetch. So this is a library. If you need to fetch data from URLs, we don't need it here. We need the logger. We don't need to read the config. So I'm going to remove this. Readable, I think that's the way we will return the data. So let's keep it. And then document collater factory is base class we will implement here from plugin search commons. Let's keep it. And then let's import our document. So Indian cities document from document file. We have some options in the constructor of this factory. So if you go forward in the way this collater is used, it's missing a step where you would add this collater in your search plugin. So no worries. But from there, you would pass in some information like the base URL or a logger or anything else. I can actually show you that. So if you go to packages, backend, source, plugins, search.ts, this is the example. So if you look at catalog, how the catalog collater factory works, you call this from config factory method, and then you pass in things like the config, you pass in discovery service, like the way to discover endpoints for other plugins, token manager for, I think, generating tokens for cross plugin communication, but anything else here. So I can also add like the reader thing we were talking about. So it depends on whatever things that this search collater needs. What do we need here? We need maybe just the logger. That's it, right? So there's our collater. There it is. So let's just skip the logger and let's call it collater factory options. We don't need the base URL. We can just call it collater factory. I think that's fine. So this is a very common way in which a lot of things exist in Backstage, is that you can of course create a class, and you can create a new instance of that class, like with new. I could also do new default catalog factory and then pass in some things here. But there's another way, is that you define a static function inside that class, which is like a factory class, and then that gives you a new instance. So it's also a nicer way of writing. It gives you a space for like doing things which you might not want to do in your constructor. It comes from Java factory classes. Oops. Okay, I'm going to some factory method pattern. Yeah, so I think it comes from like typical object-oriented programming languages, but let's use that here. I don't mind anything. So static from config. I don't need the config here. I just need like options, which is I just need a logger. So yeah, the from config function doesn't make sense here, but good. So my factory method will need a logger. I'll get to using this in a second, but let's just make sure we have everything here. So it will create a new instance of this with this logger. I don't know what that is. We don't need base URL here. So async get collater return readable from this.execute. I guess I don't need to change anything here. So I think this execute function here is a generator, which returns a particular document type, which is our Indian cities document. Some check, I don't need. So here we need our data, like the JSON file we have downloaded inside assets. Oh, where did it go? wget. Did I download it? Oh yeah, I downloaded it inside the plugin. So we have this huge JSON file, which we will need to read and then return, like basically yield from our execute function. Not exactly sure how this, like what's the purpose of this, but let's try to do it. What if we convert this into an array? So this will be an array of key value pairs. Doesn't make sense. Let's keep it an object. So const data equals to like read file here. So how do you read a JSON file? Let's use this logger first. Array side execute function. .logger.info. And let's read this file. So let's find the path for this package. So here I cannot just do like read file // assets detailed version .json. So this is not ideal, because my plugin will be packaged and it will be published like on an npm registry. So whenever a Backstage user installs this plugin, they will add it in their package.json. It will end up in their node modules. So what I need to do is find the path wherever my plugin lives, my awesome plugin backend, wherever this package lives, in node modules, in global, their system, I don't care. So once I have the path for it, I can then be assured that it exists inside assets and then this JSON. So Backstage provides this package plugin path resolve edge path. This is a nice handy utility function, so which if you give it a package name, it will basically tell you where this exists. Resolve a path relative to the root of a package directory. Additional path arguments are resolved relative to the package directory. This is particularly useful when you want to access assets shipped with your backend plugin package. When doing so, do not forget to include the assets in your published package by adding them to files in your package.json. This is exactly what I showed you here. You would add assets that JSON gets published. Cool. So let's use this resolve package path. Let's give it the name of our package, which is name of our plugin, basically. Returns a string. And let's log this. Package path. Add Himanshu so that I can search in my terminal. Okay, let's skip everything else. const fact, I don't know, let's just define data. Yes. Like this. Let's just do this. Okay, but I just want to print and show you what that looks like. So let's start our backend. And hopefully somewhere in here, find Himanshu. Oh, wait. Okay, I skipped a bit. So we have defined this collater inside our plugin, but we haven't used it in our Backstage app. So the way to use it is go to your packages backend, go to your plugins, then go to your search. And wherever you have these things set up, you just add a collater. So I can just do add a search collater for my awesome plugin. Index builder, whether it is, I don't care. Add collater, whatever exists, I'll give it my factory function. So my factory function exists in my plugin. I will need to import. Before I import, I need to export that from my plugin. So export star from search. Then let's create an index file here. And let's export identities document from collater.ts. This collater factory from, oops, the first one has to be document. And of course, I missed the notice thing. Be exporting a type when the isolated flag provides export type. Okay, this is the type. Cool. I'm exporting it from the search and then overall from my plugin package. I can import it from my Backstage backend. So I go to Backstage backend. Let me just copy the name of my package and then go to packages backend, source, plugins, search, and let me import. From my awesome plugin backend, factory. So I think here we should call it my awesome plugin collater factory, so that we don't confuse, we don't collide with other collater factories from other plugins. Okay, so here we use dot from config. It needs an options, which it just needs logger. And that is it. Look at this factor. Okay. I don't know why my linter is not working today. So now we have added our collater to the main Backstage backend search plugin. And whenever this backend starts, it's going to run my plugin collater, and then we'll get those logs. Did we get a Himanshu yet? No. Did we get any error? Perhaps we need to restart backend. What's the frequency of running these collators? Scheduler. Frequency minutes 10. Okay, so it runs every 10 minutes with an initial delay of 3 seconds when the server starts. And it times out in 15 minutes. So if you are not able to download your data and like create that index in 15 minutes, it's going to stop. Oh, we got it. We got it. Package path, Himanshu. There we go. So we got the absolute path to the plugin. So if a user has installed this plugin, it would end up in the node modules and you would get a path for it. But the gist is that inside your collater, you run this package path, resolve package path, and then you would just do this. Package path plus assets detailed version.json. How to do this package resolve thingy? I don't exactly remember out of my memory, but let me just search for it. So there's a nice way for it so that you don't, like if you're running on Windows, Linux, like this / doesn't affect you. It has to be something like path.join. I'll find an example for this. Oh, so you can do this. Oh, I didn't know about this. So you can also give comma separated paths inside that too. So it needs name of the package, but then you can also do comma assets, then comma a detailed version JSON. Yeah, I think this will work. Print it. Remove this. Clearing the terminal and restarting my backend. Searching for Himanshu. From my search collator to print out. Nowhere? Or does it take some time? Task work is starting. Search index, software catalog index, and this FAQ snippets, I think, is the thing. Is our thing. Must be coming from here, right? In our collater, needs a type. The type or name of the document set returned by used by index name by searching. Oh, it's just a unique ID. So I'll call this my awesome in cities. Not get it yet. Oh, we got it. We got the JSON. That's neat. Now we can just read it. Roll back. I don't know. So let's read this JSON. Read JSON Node.js. fs.read file. Okay, I think I know this. So inside collater, I will import fs from fs extra, which is the package with nice async functions for us to use. So I'll add this in my dependency. Is it fs extra or fs extras? It's really, really good. It's much better than the default fs that exists in Node.js, and it has and the async functions. So I can do fs read JSON. See, reads the JSON file and then it passes it into an object. So fs.read JSON, and then the file name. Try the code for it. So once I read it, and once I know the package path name, I will do read JSON. Then package path here should be JSON data path. We'll get the JSON file here. We should probably add it in a try-catch block. No such file or directory. What? Well, I don't know. Flaky things with this hot reload. Now I have this JSON. I can do dot items, right? Object JavaScript object items entries. Yeah. So I can do dot entries, and then like the value contains all the data. So I can do. Let's look at the JSON again. So that entries will give me like a key, and then value is another object, and then I can fill in like the details. Right. So I will do for const city of cities JSON. dot entries. This needs to be city and then city data. Data will be an object in itself. Here I can say I should yield title, which is like the name of the city, I imagine. So some of the things that this returns comes from, I have defined these custom things which I need to return, but also some things which are coming from the search plugin itself, like title, text, and location. These three things need to be added. These three things come from like the plugin, but here I will add things that I have defined before this nastiness here. Okay. So I'll define a title. I can just say city dot, this is city here. Text is fine. Location. This will be if you click on that search result where it takes you. So I don't know, google.com search, then q equals to whatever. By, does this work? Yeah, let's take them to the Google search result. Maybe it works. I don't know. I think this has to be absolute, relative, or absolute URL. So q equals to city name is city itself. Latitude is city data dot lat. Longitude. Population is city data dot population. We're just checking if it actually read that JSON and gave me some nicer. Why don't we use accent city? Because it looks like it's nicely formatted. Okay. So I think our generator is done. What we have done so far is we read this JSON file, which contains a list of all cities, and we return that data, and along with that, some additional data that I have defined in my document. So this should now be inside search collater because I have added it in packages backend source, my awesome source search. I've added it here and a search collater for my awesome plugin. And yeah, this should go. Of course, if I start backend, it's going to start indexing. And yeah, let's do it. I'm actually running out of water. It's so nice that in places like Sweden, you can just open your tap and then get water. Here, I have to start the water filter system, and then I have to wait for 2 minutes, and then I have to add my bottle in there. So if I have to go and fetch water, it will take 2 minutes. There you see it. Task worker starting. Now, how do I look at the index? do I have to rely on search? Like the front ends. Oh yeah, so let's now go back to Backstage. And let's hope that the search index is ready for our search. Don't see any logs. Don't think my collater has run yet. If it had, then it would print this, right? So print this. Backstage search. So, oh yeah, it's here. There's an error. Dot entries is not a function, or its return value is not iterable. Took a lot of time to tell me that. I'm looking at the read.json documentation. Interesting. Object. Oh wait. Oh. Hey, yeah, folks. I forgot in JavaScript. That's pretty much it. So you run object.entries on that particular thing. You don't run cities JSON.entries. This should work. Okay, type is not an issue for me here. But it took a lot of time, right? It took some time before it came, like the collater ran. So that was it because I also have other collators installed. So I have tech docs and I have catalog. Like, what if I disable these and it will be faster, maybe? Sure. So my collator is starting. Let's wait before. I have log level debug enabled. So that's why you can see some private catalog logs where it's processing each entity, all the sample entities that are added in the Backstage app. Why is this unable to read this cookie cutter thing? Has it been deleted or what? Wait. Oh, it's missing I don't know. Let's wait for our collater to run before we see any errors. Come on already. Oh my god, it's taking a lot of time to index. Why is it so? It takes like 2-3 minutes to run all collater code. That is, yeah. It'll take a lot of time to give feedback to the contributor. Like, what's a fast way in which you can get that? So the catalog has, meanwhile, the catalog has given me this error 3 times, which means catalog is indexing all those YAMLs faster than search has run the collater even for the first time. So I don't know what's happening. If I look at search logs, there are no search logs. So I don't know. Let's look at our front-end search and let's see what are the results in here. I just want to search for a city. Oh wait, something went wrong. What? Query term software catalog. Huh? Okay. I don't know. I want to search for Mumbai and I want something to appear. That's the end goal. Folks, doing this for the first time, like always. So this, this is the pain that I'm sharing with you. Thank you for being here and experiencing it with me. It's all fun. It's all fun. It's open source. It's something that we built together. Let's improve it together as well. Okay, so I want more logs here. So I want, do I have logger here? I think I do. imp.logger.info. Adding collater to index builder. Okay. And I just want Himanshu in all these logs so that I know what I'm searching for. Then it runs the from config thing, and then it runs this new class, and then inside the execute function, and then it will come here. So let's restart. Oh wait, there we go. Dynamically reloaded, hot reloaded. Adding collater multiple times. Now, but not the execute function. So this log, right? We need to see if the execute function is running. Why is it not running? Get collater. Where's this get collater called? Maybe this index builder does like call get collater. Yeah, maybe the internals of the search plugin calls that. Just want to see that execute function run. So hopefully there should be no index, right, in the front end, because we have disabled tech docs and catalog. So perhaps it's cached in the front end. Like, what if I kill this front end, then restart it, then clear cache, then reload it? Yeah, I got it. So Himanshu, inside the execute function, package path, you got the JSON, succeeded. Look at that. It's collating documents succeeded for the plugin. Awesome. I'm really excited for this front end to spin up and then see my cities in there. Let's see this. Let's look at it. Come on, come on, come on. So yeah, this was good. I like this new music, so thank you, Pixabay. So we are at the end. We only have like 5-10 more minutes to go before we. Okay, so this is the moment. Hopefully, all the cities are now indexed. Where is it? I lost the JSON file. All of these cities are indexed in Backstage backend, and if I search, they should pop up. Ooh, look at that. Oh, beautiful. I'll search my hometown. Oh, it's here. Delhi. So many Delhis. That is a very satisfying end to all the struggles. I love it. Let's search one more city. What? Yeah, Pune. Yeah. And if I click one of those, it should take me to the Google search result. I love it. It was a bit of pain, but we were able to successfully write a collater and then ingest some custom data inside search and also change how it appears here. So this was freaking awesome. Thank you, Emma, for the tutorial. And thanks everyone who have worked on search. I love it. And then of course you can customize things in the front end. It's really, really powerful. Like everything in Backstage, you can customize search and integrate and extend it. So that was it for today. And we covered Backstage search. We covered everything in like a lot of things inside the search backend. So Backstage backend plugins. And then there's some more things that are slightly advanced and not really old. So for example, permissions framework is there, in which you can filter some results based on like if a Backstage user has permission to view that entity or not. Yeah, and like we can dig deeper into that, but those are slightly something that you might not want to do in the first plugin that you build. There's something like cache management, which we didn't cover. So if you're reading stuff from external places frequently, you might want to cache it using memcache or whatever. In the Backstage instance, thank you, Eric, for building it like along with other maintainers and people who helped. So yeah, it's really simple. You just do cache.key and then set the value, and you don't care how memcache works or Redis works. That's been taken care of. So yeah, like it took 3 sessions of 2 hours each, and hopefully I can use all of this resource to compile a plugin creation course and maybe a workshop of, I don't know, 4 hours, and you get a really nice plugin, front end, back end, integrated inside Backstage, added to search, use databases, so many things. So yeah, thanks for watching. Happy Friday, everyone, and see you next Friday. If you'd like to see something specific inside Backstage and want me to do live coding on it, or want me to join me for that, so please let me know. I'm OrkoHunter, and see you next time. Have a good one, everyone. Bye.
Excited about Backstage but don't know where to start? Spotify has a new learning experience designed to help you get up and running with Backstage. Get familiar with key Backstage concepts and technical architecture. And with our step-by-step tutorials, learn how to set up, configure, and customize your Backstage app, helping you to reduce onboarding time and making your developers happier, faster. Get started today. Visit backstage.spotify.com/learn.